Fantastic. So, Dr. Anne Marie and Rachel, thank you so much for being here. To start, Anne Marie, could you please briefly introduce yourself and the role that you have at the university?
Yeah, sure. My name's Anne-Marie Day. I'm a senior lecturer and deputy director of the Centre for Crime and Youth Justice Research. And I am based in the School of Sociology and Criminology. And I do a combination of research around criminal justice and youth justice matters, and also teach across a number of modules on the undergraduate criminology degree.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And Rachel, it's also really nice to have you here as well. Could you also tell me a little bit about your role and how you support the university?
Yeah, so I work in the press team. I share this role with Rachel Toll, who you've been in touch with as well. And we work across arts and humanities and health and education to support our academics and deal with like reputational issues for the university.
My first question has to do with the link between education and reduced reoffending. So, from your perspective, what role do you think that universities should play in supporting decarceration efforts?
I think that universities should do a lot more than they currently do, and it's a real privilege to work at Manchester Met, who are kind of leading the way in this, really, in terms of offering scholarships to undergraduate students, because I think it's really key that the barriers to going to university for students, young people, adults who have got lived experience of the justice system, throughout their education and are particularly kind of concentrated at the university level. We see very few students coming through that have got lived experience of the justice system, of care, etc. And I think that universities, they do have a civic and social responsibility towards the most vulnerable in society, to ensure that they are given and afforded the same opportunities as everybody else to, reach their full potential. So yeah, I think this is groundbreaking, but it's been a long time coming, and hopefully, it will pave the way for other universities to follow suit as well. In terms of recognizing this need and offering additional financial support to students that really need it.
Certainly, yeah, I completely agree. I was talking with one of my colleagues about how it's this idea moving beyond universities just being a site of social mobility, but more sites of prevention. So you kind of, I think are leading into that. Does that framing resonate with you? And if so, where do you think the scholarship fits in this?
Well, I think the challenge is facing, young adults who are trying to move away from offending and kind of go on that desistance journey, as it were, are absolutely phenomenal. Often there's financial barriers, there's issues around accommodation, getting ID, accessing education, having the right qualifications to get into university because of a disrupted education. So I just feel that anything that we can do to support that in terms of aiding that general social mobility and doing what we can to not even level the playing field, because I'm not sure that we'll do that anytime soon, but just that to take some baby steps towards that journey and moving forward in that process has got to be a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think, connected to that, of course, people with lived experience in the justice system have undeniable differences and difficulties in accessing higher education. Children of incarcerated mothers, for example, face some of the highest adverse childhood experience rates. How, if you know, of course, how does the scholarship, this one specifically, account for the structural disadvantages that recipients may face? For example, in terms of support or additional, support.
Yeah, I mean, Manchester Met, I think it does have one of the highest rates in the country, in terms of having children, for example, who've got care experience and that are first time students that in their families go to university. So we've kind of got a track record already of taking a more holistic view of a student's background and education. So, a lot of the traditional kind of Russell Group universities will want, 3 A levels, grade A, and if not, you don't get in. But actually, we recognise that a lot of students, their life experience, their education may be a little bit more disrupted. But actually, when you bring in those students and really look after them and value every element of their life that they're bringing to the table in terms of their education, they can actually make for some of our best students in terms of not just the assignments that they produce and the grades that they get, but the people that they become to then move on into employment afterwards. And I'm currently teaching a final semester, final year module to over 200 sociology and criminology students. And you often find that the students in the room that maybe didn't come through the traditional route, but I've had quite a lot of pastoral support from the university and are now coming to the end of that journey. When they're making contributions in the sessions and they're drawing on some lived experience, some of their own adversities and their academic knowledge, they are some of the most powerful contributions, and I can see that they will go straight into employment, potentially within the criminal justice system, and really kind of be powerful advocates and really supportive workers as they move on from their degree. So I think there's a lot that we offer and that we will offer with these scholarships, particularly the mentor that we're planning to bring in to support these students, and hopefully that those that are successful in the scholarship and others who have also got lived experience will have a really positive journey, like a lot of our students already do.
Yeah, I'm so thrilled to hear that. Is there a specific way that you see these students becoming very successful? Is there something like a quality that they have specifically that makes these contributions so powerful?
I wouldn't say a specific quality. What I would say is the fact that they are wanting to go to university, the fact that they're applying, they're stepping into quite an alien, quite intimidating environment. They already do have a lot of qualities. They're brave, they're resilient, they are eager to make a difference. And I think as a university, it's our job to firstly identify them, recognise their strengths, and then get alongside them to support them in terms of how to build on those and build their confidence, but also potentially recognise any of the practical barriers that they might be facing to complete their degree. Financial, it might be accommodation, etc. So I think there's a dual process that we have. But I think in terms of qualities, I think it's probably not one specific thing, but that resilience and that vision that they've got for themselves, and how can we assist them in moving forward and achieving that.
Yeah, I think that's really wonderful, and I can totally imagine that. So our magazine has a lot to do with women specifically and their lived experience in the justice system. So I know that the scholarship is open to all, but I would like to ask a little bit about the disproportionate challenges that women faced if they have lived experience in the justice system. Is there, or how might this scholarship specifically support women?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. And I think, it's something that we've seen with students already. So those that do have lived experience in the justice system, that they're, female students, they typically have childcare challenges. Potentially they may have children, they may have, families that they need to support. They're typically, so they've got caregiving responsibilities, potentially also working, if they've not got a partner with them to support their families, getting them to school. I had one student who didn't have lived experience of the system, but she was bringing her baby into lectures last year because she was breastfeeding. And she was like, is that okay? And I was like, my God, yes. And I made sure that she had a space to do that where she felt comfortable and safe and so on. So yeah, I mean, we do whatever we can to support students, and particularly young women, because we know that they do face additional challenges and additional barriers that are often related to some of the more gendered challenges that they face around, if they're a mother and working and got these additional responsibilities. And I know that the way the university, particularly in sociology and criminology, the way they timetable teaching tries to reflect that. So, if they've got one module that's 4 hours teaching a week, they'll try and block that in one day, so that maybe students only have to come in like 2 or 3 days a week to do their teaching, rather than it being spread out over 5 days, an hour here, an hour there, to kind of suit the needs of the lecturers. It's around what are the needs of the students. And I've seen that as a real step change since I've moved to working at Manchester Met 2 years ago. And I think, again, that is very much taking account of some of the specific needs of those that are in caregiving positions. And we know that disproportionately falls on women.
Great. And it's so nice that they have such supportive lecturers like you and your colleagues that see that and that can support them. You kind of touched on this just a little bit already, but what responsibility specifically do you think that your university has in dismantling these inequalities for women that have lived experience in the justice system?
I think Manchester Met has already put itself out there as wanting to lead the way in this area. So I think by, having that partnership with Lady Edwina Grosvenor, who is obviously a big advocate for supporting women who are leaving custody, with the Hope Street Centre and a lot of the other amazing stuff that she does. And then by, funding these scholarships, which again is something she didn't have to do, but she's done and done it in partnership with the university. I think that we've already put ourselves out there as kind of leading the way in this area. So I think by doing that, we're taking on that responsibility. And obviously we hope that other universities are going to follow suit, because, this is something that should be offered nationally. And it's something that all universities should be offering, regardless of, what background the students come from. So I think it's something that's shared, but I think we're definitely leading the way. And as a result of that, we're kind of taking on that mantle.
Yeah, I completely agree. Actually, since you brought up Lady Edwina, the program is being supported by her. How can or does philanthropic leadership like this have the potential, or does it catalyze wider institutional change within universities?
We'd hope so, wouldn't you? I mean, this for me, this is something, if I was in a privileged position where I had access to those who, have the decisions and sorry, they're in a position to make decisions that can impact on people's lives, and I also had access to the resources, I would be wanting to make that difference. And I feel that we're in a really, privileged position to have that partnership with Lady Edwina Grosvenor. So again, philanthropic kind of missions that fund research, but also fund scholarships into these areas are absolutely crucial. And, my other kind of hat is that I do a lot of research around children in the justice system. And often, a lot of the funders that we go to, they're funded by philanthropists that are often unnamed, but they allow for really important research to take place that we can then use to try and directly influence government. But having people that are willing to be named and come out and say, look, I'm funding this, and they have those direct links to people in positions of power, I think is an extra layer of influence that we shouldn't be frightened to use. And it's been great that Lady Edwina has been doing media interviews about this and trying to shine a light on this issue. And at the weekend in the Times, she was calling for issues of criminology and crime and justice to be on the curriculum, which I completely agree with. When I speak to my children that are kind of university and secondary school age, when I talk to them about what I'm doing and I relate it to life, they find it really interesting. And they're like, why don't we learn about this at school? This is something we need to know about. It's almost more relevant to life than some of the other stuff we're learning. So I think, there's a lot of elements to this. I could talk about it all day, as you can imagine, Sophia, but I'll stop there.
Oh, but I'm so interested in that as well. I could also just talk the whole day about any of these questions. You touched on this as well. And I think this type of leadership and influence really plays into this question. But are there any specific ways that you see that maybe are already being done or not, that the scholarship can become part of a lasting shift of how all universities engage with justice-involved communities? So to make sure that this isn't just a one-off charitable intervention.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think it's really important that we will be doing, and that's part of the reason why we funded this mentor role to support all students that have got justice experience. But I think it's important that as we're funding these scholarships and as we're providing this extra support, that we're really gathering that data about what needs do students have. Because I hope that there'll be some even now that are doing their degree that haven't made themselves known to the university as those that have got justice experience. So I'm hoping that this will encourage students to come forward and seek that support. And then from that, we could then start to just gather more information about their lives, their challenges, what they're, where they need specific support over and above other students that are also disadvantaged. And we can use that as a platform from which to potentially go to government and go to, wider funders and say, look, this is something that there's a need across the sector here. This is the level of support financially and otherwise. Maybe speak to other universities about that to try and ensure that this is, like you say, isn't just a one-off, scholarships over the next, 3 to 5 years, but it's something that we can, use to kind of take the information, embed the learning, and then, look at how we can put together some kind of longer term plan, not just for Manchester Met, who I'm sure will still hopefully be leading the way, but nationally as well. So yeah, and I know there's already discussions about that taking place. So I think there is definitely a plan that we will be looking at trying to embed this and look at how we can look at support nationally on a long-term basis.
Great. And actually, this is a perfect transition into something else I wanted to ask, which is how do you know maybe how the university will monitor the longer term impact or outcomes for the scholarship recipients and possibly also their communities?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the universities already have systems in place to monitor all students that graduate. They kind of keep in touch with them around what their employment prospects are, because you see a lot of stuff published about, so many students 5 years after the degree are in employment and aren't. So there's already those processes in place. So I imagine those would be utilised. But I also envisage, and again when we were talking about the specific mentoring role, some of the discussion was around the data gathering and the long-term monitoring, and that would be through that student staying in contact with us and letting us know how they're doing. And there will be plans to kind of follow up with those students and see how they're doing, because obviously we want to ensure that this investment is for them something that they find really valuable and useful and has hopefully allowed them to get to where they want to be after the degree. So, we'd want them to stay in touch with us. Hopefully they would, because they'd have that really solid relationship. And then there would be that follow-up, potentially for several years at least after the degree, to see how they're doing, what impact it's had and so on. Because, for us to demonstrate that this is going to become embedded and we want to roll it out on a more wide-scale basis, we'll need that longer-term data to show this is the difference it has made, this is the trajectory that it's now put somebody on when they were on a different trajectory. And this is why we need to look at funding more scholarships in this area. I mean, we know that people with lived experience in the justice system often make for really, really powerful case managers in the criminal justice system, in probation, youth justice, the third sector, and they have an ability to engage with people who are in the criminal justice system labelled as offenders in a very effective way. In a very powerful way. So this is something that has benefits beyond education and for the criminal justice system as well. If that's the field that people want to go into, obviously there'll be many other fields that people are interested in working in as well.
Just out of personal interest, do you think, their ability, like their as you said, are really become really effective case managers and can engage with these offenders or other people involved in the system? Do you think that would have something to do with empathy or a similar, because they really can understand what the person is going through?
Potentially, yeah. I started off as a probation officer, and what you typically need is certain skills as a person, right? You need to show that you're not judgmental, that you can build a relationship with somebody, that they're going to trust you. So I think you don't need to have lived experience to do that. But I do think from speaking to young people and adults in the justice system, if they meet with somebody who's also got that shared experience, it just brings down those barriers a lot quicker. I think those connections can be formed a lot faster because they get it they've seen it. There's not that mistrust of figures of authority in the same way, potentially, of, what background have you come from? You're just getting paid to do this job, is something you would often hear as a first kind of, why should I trust you? It removes some of that because, they kind of know that this person has been there, seen it, felt it, lived those challenges, and that they get it in a way that, me as a former probation officer could never understand. So I think it probably just helps remove some of those barriers a little bit quicker, and can make for quite powerful working relationships when it works really well.
Yeah, I completely imagine that. It makes a lot of sense. Just even thinking, I think that's applicable, of course, to other situations too, where it's just this common interest or common background that really makes people more comfortable. So moving forward, what would success look like to you for either the program or individual scholars? For yourself personally, how would you measure this?
I mean, I'm a qualitative researcher, right? So I'm interested in people's stories. I'm sure there'll be the data that shows, what led to this employment and these outcomes and so on. I'm sure that will follow, and that maybe at an institutional level, that's what the institution are interested in. I strongly suspect Lady Edwina Grosvenor is coming from a similar place to me, but I obviously can't speak for her. But I want to hear about people's, how getting the scholarship has made it much easier for them to do university, maybe remove some of those additional pressures of having to get extra work to support themselves financially. Maybe they've not had to do that to the same extent, and it's just given them the headspace to do the degree, thoroughly kind of enjoy that process of learning. And then the difference it's made having the support, so they felt comfortable in their own skin in an environment that may otherwise have felt alien to them. So I'd be interested in during the degree, how they found that, whether they felt that their voices felt valued, which hopefully it will do, because we are a university that has a lot of students that come from disadvantaged backgrounds. So we have a lot of experience in this. And then in the longer term, what difference has it made to their lives in terms of the direction that they would have gone in versus the direction that they're now able to go in through having this additional support. So hopefully, it will mean that they're able to access jobs that previously they might not have been able to because of barriers around needing a degree. And then that's given them an opportunity to really kind of move forward in the direction that they wanted to on their desistance journey, away from, a life involved in the justice system.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think that definitely would be a successful program. And I'm the same. I really feel like I can resonate more with data if I am doing things like interviews or qualitative research where you can really read about people's stories, which is something that I wanted to ask you in case you were more quantitative. So it's really great that you think the same way. The first scholars of the program will begin in September 2026, I believe. What are your hopes for them? And if you could speak to them actually right now, maybe they're listening, what would you want them to know?
I would want them to apply. I really would. I'd strongly encourage them to apply. If they're thinking they're not sure, they've got questions, they're a little bit nervous, then just get in touch with the university. We're very approachable staff in the unit. If they were to speak to any of us, have a cup of tea. I've already done it with a couple of students that are interested. That I already know through Manchester Youth Justice Service. And we've gone for a cup of tea. We've had a tour of the Student Union. I've just sat with them and said, look at the students around you. They look just like you. They dress just like you. Do you feel comfortable? And they're like, yeah, I can see that. I can feel that. I can appreciate it, because you could see there was a lot of nerves. So actually seeing that change in them even before applying. So I guess that would be one of the messages I'd want to put out there, which is, this isn't an alien environment, even though it might feel like it. And it's our job to make sure that you feel comfortable and at home, that you belong there. And in terms of what I hope for the first students, I just hope they just have a great journey on through university. I hope that they really enjoy learning, that they can bring their own lived experience to the table if they want to, but I don't want them to feel like they have to. If they want to, don't want to tell anyone and just be a student and do their degree, that is also 100% cool as well. But just have a great learning experience, and that it really just have a positive influence on their lives, and remove some of those financial pressures that so many students face during a degree. It just removes some of those from them.
That's so nice. Yeah, thank you so much. And one question, because I heard you mention that you were going to the Manchester Youth Justice Service beforehand. Mm-hmm. Were you a part of the promotion or encouraging of the scholarship program in any way?
No, we already have these connections with young people because we have a pre-existing, as a research centre, we've worked with Manchester Youth Justice Service and Greater Manchester Youth Justice Services for about 10-15 years. And we quite frequently have young people who've got lived experience of the system come in and speak to our students who are interested in doing degrees, and we already support them with that. And often we have our students go out and do internships and do pieces of research in the justice, in the youth justice system. So it's just through those pre-existing relationships. But what we've been able to do now is say to young people who've maybe come through the justice system and are now looking to do a degree and move on with their lives, we can now say to them, oh, there's a scholarship. Whereas previously it was just, would you like to apply and we'll support you? Now we can say, actually, there's a scholarship that could help you financially. And they're like, oh, wow, that's amazing. And, as far as I'm aware, I think, ma'am, that is the only university in the country that offers this to undergraduate students. So it's something that is very much a unique offer, and we can say that to them, and suddenly they're like, oh, I didn't realise that. And you can see that they start really thinking about it because those barriers in their mind start to be removed, which I think is really great.
Certainly. I think also it has to do with the fact that it's targeted support. So it's for them. And I think that's something that's really special, to know that there's a scholarship for you and for the things that you have endured in your life. That actually brings me to something I did want to ask. Do you think targeted support like this maybe should be seen as completely necessary across vulnerable groups instead of maybe an optional measure that universities should take?
I mean, yeah, I think all universities should offer targeted support. I think because then you are potentially likely to have support workers that have got that specific knowledge and training in a certain area and are aware of the additional challenges that somebody might face. In terms of whether students access that support, I think it should be entirely down to them. But I would really want them to, even if they didn't feel that they needed support, make themselves known to the university, make themselves known to that support that's available, so that they can just check in every now and again and just say, is everything okay? Yeah, it's fine, I'm okay. Because often I say to students a lot, it's worth familiarising yourself with whatever support is available, because although you think you're okay now, you never know what's going to happen with life. Suddenly something can just come and throw you a curveball, and knowing what help is out there and that you can just access it immediately is really, really important. And for the best will in the world, none of us can ever plan for those curveballs. And I suspect that if you come from a background maybe where you have justice experience or care experience, etc., those curveballs may come a little bit more frequently because of the additional structural barriers that those students face. So I think that's why it is probably important to have that targeted support. And for students, I'd encourage them to make themselves known rather than say they have to, because I think that's probably a little bit oppressive. And I think one of the great things about university is that element of choice and freedom that I think a lot of students experience for the first time in education, that they don't really get in mainstream secondary education, especially where it's very prescribed. So I think it would be important that we continue to underpin those values.
Completely. Thank you so much. Rachel, do you have anything that you would like to add from any of the questions that I asked, or just an idea that you want to build on?
No, I thought I was honestly just having really enjoyed listening to that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And Anne-Marie, do you have anything that you want to build on or add from any of the themes that we talked about, or any questions for me?
I think it was really nice to kind of speak about this and really kind of hopefully promote it to young women that obviously the magazine's targeted at, young women who maybe are thinking of doing university, because there may be some that don't live in Manchester that see the opportunity and want to apply for it, and it might make them nationally be interested as well in the opportunity, which would be great.
Certainly, I think it's really groundbreaking. And actually, when I even found out about the scholarship, I was pleasantly surprised, because I hadn't seen anything like this thus far. So it was, and I just graduated from my undergraduate degree 2 years ago. And so, I'm also looking at my graduate program opportunities and looking at different support. So I think it's very special. It's very special. And I'm really happy that your university is making this progress. Great. Well, thank you so much. But I think that's all the questions I have for now. We kind of sped through them and I can't think of anything, but if I have any questions for you, I will also follow up.
That's great. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
So my name is Parasto Hakim, and I was born and raised in Afghanistan, and I lived in Kabul even before leaving Afghanistan. So I studied in there, and everything was there. So until 2023, but everything changes and I had to leave the country. And I was working in education sector before as well, but it didn't add up as much as I was involved after 2021. So what happened in 2021 was when they just came to the country, they banned education facilities and opportunities for the girls, especially after the primary education. So the universities were still running, but the jobs were still running, but we all knew that what's going to happen and how it's going to happen. So in September, I started to contact some of our teachers, because that was my targeted I can call them audience and colleagues after that, because I knew they have connections, they have experience in education, and I don't need to mentor them. We don't need to train anyone to how to teach, because they already had the experience. And also for me, it was very easy to find students, because that's what we wanted to do. And I started, I looked for this teacher. Her name, I would call her Mariam today. She already had a school inside her house, and she was teaching her students that they were banned from school. And she asked them to come and join her in at home, so that she can help them to study. So the next day I went to her and I started talking with her, and we had this conversation, and I just asked her, like, let's expand the school, and I might be able to help you with the materials or any type of anything that you might need for the school. Let's expand. So she said, okay. And on that day we started surveying, and we started asking new girls to come to our schools, and house by house. And that in those days we went and we surveyed people, and we saw how people were thinking, and everybody was very happy. Especially the mothers would look at their daughters who were banned from education and say that, you were looking for school to open, and now the school opportunity is here in our house, and they are calling you to join them. So please go on. And in one day, I think we collected more than 55 students, and I didn't want it to be a big deal. I wanted just to as a young girl, I just wanted to have a small part in what was going on, to be any of assistance or help. So then slowly, this is how we created a small place for girls to come and study there. But the second day or third day, when I was going and teaching there, we noticed that the mothers and the elder sisters or elder aunts, or even the grandmothers of the girls, were also joining the schools, and they wanted to join to study. And it was not okay for us, because we wanted to, our audience was the girls, and we wanted to help them, because they were traumatized, and psychologically they were not okay. So we had to make a place, but we could not say no to these women as well, because they came from this community. So we individualized them, and we took them to another class, and I spoke with them. And one of the main things that they told us on those days, I have repeatedly emphasized on this, was when I asked them why they wanted to study and why they wanted to get educated, it was also bound with war. So they were telling me that their husbands, their brothers, their male guardians at home, basically, they were telling them and asking them that you should go somewhere so that you can be educated, as much as if you were stuck in a war zone or an attack is happening or a war or anything is happening, you should be able to recognize the numbers and memorize our numbers and call as an emergency cases or call the ambulance. Or if you are like stuck in a attack, a bomb attack or anything, you should be able to read the addresses to find us to come so that we can help you, because we don't want to lose you to war. So even the motive of getting education was also bound with war, that we wanted to somehow escape the war. That's why they had to come and study. And we asked them, we surveyed them on that day that which subjects they wanted to focus on. And they were main 3 subjects on how to read, how to write, and how to use telephones. And basically it was English, because most of them had their family members outside the country, especially after what happened in 2021. Everybody left the country, so everybody had somebody outside the country. So they wanted to know how to use WhatsApp, how to use mobile and phones, and basically in English as well. So we were teaching them that. We started, so we called the program Second Chance Program, because all of these women were those victim of the Taliban policies in 1996. So we couldn't say no to them, because that's what we wanted to do. And we expanded our team, and we had 4 teachers, and now we had 2 different classes. These girls that in this First Chance, and these girls in the Second Chance Program, women. So that's how we expanded everything. And then in December next year of that, in December 2022, they banned women from going to universities. They banned them after 1 week of banning them from going to universities. They banned them from going to any type of offices or workplaces. So what we did was, when they banned university, was on that night, we sat together with my team and we said, at this point, we had more than 5 or 6 secret schools in Kabul and outside Kabul, which was like in some big areas. And then we sat together with my team and we said, we have to do something for that as well, because everybody was asking us, like, my sister is banned from university, can we do something? So we created a WhatsApp group to collect students. And then we, in one night, like in 4 hours, we collected more than 700 boys and girls from across Afghanistan that they wanted to be included. And we created a team, different types of teams, and we categorized them. We give them surveys, what they wanted to study and what they wanted to learn. Basically, we could not create an online university because it was not possible. But we spoke with many of the Kabul University teachers who were like protesting against the Taliban, against the ban of education for girls in the universities. And they all joined us, and we made a program and curriculum and stuff. And we were teaching the students and the girls different type of stuff that was possible online. For example, literature, for example, psychology, for example, computer science, for example, English language and English literature. So it was one of the easiest things. And at the end of the programs, we were creating another program for them for like 2 or 3 months, so that we can give them the knowledge on how they have to be able to adapt to the online system or online universities and stuff. So we teach them so many stuff. We work with them every day on how to make their essays, how to do their applications for online universities. And for more than 39 girls, we were able to secure scholarships in one of Indian universities, and 5 of the girls from that group chat and that online classes got internship in New York universities, and most of them that we helped, they got scholarship with American University of Afghanistan. So it was a program that's still going on, and we give them the responsibility of moving forward and collecting more and more girls to there. But my main focus was on the girls to get them educated, and also get them, there is a sense of responsibility that their future belongs to them. So they have to do something for themselves. I didn't want to fish for them. I wanted to show them the skills on how to do it by themselves. which they successfully, in most cases, they did for themselves. After everything was banned, we were sitting everybody. We were like. We knew deep down when, especially international communities, journalists were coming to Afghanistan and they were speaking to us, and most of them were telling us that maybe this time these people changed, and it was very surprising for me coming as a girl in that community or that country that people outside the country, while 5 years these people have been in the power and they did so many bad things that they should have not. The world still thinks that they might have changed and they are just terrorists, they are not like normal people to come to power. So what we did was, for me, I was keep repeating this thing that they will do exactly the same things as they did in 1996. So I was born in 1997, and everything I know about them is from the stories of my mother, from the documentaries like Christina Amanpour in 1997 or 6. She was in September. She was in Afghanistan. She created a documentary about every aspect of life in Afghanistan during the Taliban and under the Taliban. So what we did was, for me, it was very shocking that these many stories and documentaries exist, but people outside Afghanistan still think that they changed. So I was emphasizing that they will do exactly the same things as they did in 1996. It was also a wake-up call for me to do more, because the girls inside those schools, they do not have the mentality of a victim. They do not have the mentality of a person that they are unable, and they do not have any right to be in the community or be part of the community as the people want them to be. So they wanted more every day we were going there. So what we did was we did a survey, and for me, the biggest part for my girls was this thing that one thing was to give them opportunities to learn, but another thing was to keep them at home, so that, because mostly in those cases when the girls were not able to go to school, not able to go to university, not able to work, the family members, because average family member in Afghanistan is 7 people. So most of the people, like, for example, I am a child and I'm not able to go to university or school. My mother was banned from going to a job, and my father also did not have any job because he was working in the previous government, and now they are being banned from being in the same position. So I was a burden on my family, and they could not feed me because it's too many children, and I was in an age like 13 years old, 14 years old, automatically recognized to get married. And even if they don't force me emotionally, I have this force and pressure in my head that I have to get married. So for me, I could feel that pressure. And I wanted to give the girls skills so that they can bring food into the table for their family members, so that they can be of any assistance to their parents, to not be seen as burden on the shoulder, to just bread eater, not breadwinner. So I wanted to make them as breadwinners as well as giving them the opportunity to grow and have access to education. So what we did was we did a survey among all the girls that we had in secret schools, and we wanted to know what type of activities that they know already, or they have a little bit knowledge, or at least they have the interest. So we found it was very surprising for us that most of the girls, without any knowledge or without any trainings or without having any tuitions or courses, they were able to make art like in a very, very high manner, and they were able to create art. They were already doing the painting. There were so many girls that they were skating, and they were doing clothes designing. There were girls that they were able to do tailoring. Of course, it's a very common thing. There were so many girls, especially in northern Afghanistan, they were able to weave carpets, so with the help of their family members, because this was something like a locally business that they were doing. And there were so many girls that they were writers. They were writing and reading literature and books. So we used that, and we created different type of courses for them. We hired teachers for them, and at this point, we had more than 11 secret schools in the country. So we provided them with some facilities like machineries and stuff from our friends. We collected money, and anybody who could give us like a pen or a notebook or a machine for tailoring or canvas for art projects, we were accepting it. So at this point, many people were coming and speaking with us, and also I was in the media speaking about the initiatives that we were doing. So many people were reaching out to help us with the small project that we created. So then now, like in 2023, I had to leave overnight in March 2023 because of the threats were there. But at that point, I saw that the girls were not only feeling the sense of responsibility for their future, but they also had the sense of responsibility for these girls that they do not have access to education. Because that's what I want to do with this team that we created, the girls that they are graduating. We are giving them the sense of responsibility that they have to become teachers with us. Like, we are not forcing them, but as you might know, the documentations that we provide to them, they cannot use it inside the country because it's a secret school. So what they can do is to still pursue their education and be the breadwinner. We hire them, we mentor them, and we train them to be teachers, and then we hire them with us. We give them salary, and in the same time, we give them knowledge on how to work on their skills, to bring money back to home or to school, and also to on how to be able to apply for like international universities to study online, because they are at that point where they can buy themselves the laptops, or they know how to attend schools and online universities. So now what we were focusing on is they were all teachers for themselves, and we had a group of 200 girls that they graduated last month, and all of them are right now in the training process to become teachers and go back to their communities. And the schools are built in a way, and the security measurement was one of the biggest point for us, was this, that the girls should not use the public transportation, because anything can happen, like attacks can happen, or like they can be found, or they can be followed by somebody, and it might put the whole team in risk. So the schools are inside the communities where everybody knows that their daughters are coming to the secret school. So this way, if a threat is coming, the community is standing against those people, that they don't want the schools inside the community. And it happens so many times. And in this 4 years that we are working on secret schools in that country, none of our, knock on the wood, none of our students, our teachers, our team members, our field workers, or our surveyors, or our monitors have been detained, questioned, or followed by the Taliban yet. So because of the measurements and also the knowledge that we have got from our mothers or our team members, like especially the women in the Secret Chance program, they were telling us how to mentor everything and how to take the security measurements. So now the girls are in that phase where they know how to weave carpets, they know how to make clothes, they know how to skate, they know how to paint, they know how to make jewelries, they know how to write a book, they know how to read a book, especially the big books like, I don't know, the Miserables from Victor Hugo is one of the books that they have been working on for 2 weeks. So now what we are doing is our biggest focus is on this, to give them the knowledge on how to use technology to create platforms for their businesses, so that they can make the things that they are skilled in, and take pictures and do marketing for that and sell it while they're at home. And their family members, for example, their brothers, their fathers, are going to help them to deliver it. So this way, the girls are businesswomen for themselves, because I do not see them to sit at home to be depressed. I do not want them to sit at home and study online, because I believe as social species, I think we belong to the community, and nobody from inside the country or outside the country, even high ranking or from that de facto authorities, cannot tell us like otherwise, like please sit at home or study religious books and stuff. So because I don't want that. So this is how the whole thing came together. And I think from September 2021, where I woke up one day and I was like, I want to do something, and I started that thing, to today, I don't understand how this happened. And then, to be honest, I think it's all the determination of the girls and the teachers. And right now we have more than 35 secret schools. And we have centers for skill building programs, especially the carpet weaving programs. We have more than 42 employees, teachers. We have more than 6 monitors that they're monitoring the schools every day, because we know that the girls are coming to school, but we have to make sure that the quality of education is good and they are getting educated, because they will be attending international universities, and we are helping them in the next phases with that too, and especially the skill building programs. And the only person that was out is me, because in 2022, I didn't really want it to be in the media or speak about it, because it was not something that I should be proud of, because this was something that I felt responsible for to do. But when I faced the international journalist coming to Afghanistan telling me that it seems outside the country that the people of that country, or especially women, are okay with what they are saying, and we don't care. So speaking with the media was a threat, but not speaking was a bigger threat, because everybody thought that we are okay with the situation going on and the Taliban changed. So that's why I became the face, and we were speaking. And the team is still in Afghanistan. We have 5 women working on everything. And I'm just here, I think, managing and doing the innovative work.
Okay.
And advocating. Right now I'm in Paris.
Okay. And how long have you been there again?
So I came in 2023 in April.
So you're doing the managing, you're coordinating with your partners back there.
Yes.
Since 2023, all online?
Yes, wow. Everything online.
Oh, that's super impressive. And I'm curious, because you have explained how you've really just catered to your community. You've kind of shifted like these curriculums, these educational curriculums for what individuals want. I find that really empowering. I think it's always really important to listen to the people you're working with, so that's something that I really found interesting to hear more about. I'm also curious, how do these online programs work with WhatsApp group chats, etc.? You mentioned you also have like online courses, right?
Yes, the online courses, the management programs, or the strategizing and methodologies, and the announcements is happening in through WhatsApp, and the schools and the classes are being held in Teams, because in Teams it's not like Zoom. We do not have the timer stuff, but in Teams we take the classes, and it's the girls themselves that they graduated in 2023. Now they took over the programs, and they are working on that initiatives themselves, because I don't want to show them to do something. We trained them because they were the students and they graduated. Now they are voluntarily helping their other fellows to have the same position as they have.
And I'm just curious, how do you receive most of your funding for this? Because are the teachers paid, or is it mostly volunteer work, or a mix?
So the schools are mainly in the field. All of the schools are in the field. It's not online. And I don't want to imagine a day that we will have the schools online, because it's not working. The funding resources, I cannot say, but we only have one source, but it was not from the beginning of the work. And I have to mention that we started this work, all of us, voluntarily. And we were just working voluntarily. And for 1 year, we were able to secure fundings to buy the machineries and the things that we needed for skill building programs, which has finished. But even if we do not have any fundings and we do not have any materials, and when we speak with the teachers to tell them that we do not have any resources to give them, and if they want to take a break until we are able to provide something for them, like financially, they tell us that they did not start the work with money, and they will not stop it without money. So it's mostly voluntarily, and it's something like a social work that started inside the community, because their own daughters are also going to be beneficial from it.
It's really interesting to hear more about how it's so community-led. Everybody works together to help one another. I find that very empowering. And impressive, honestly. And how old are you now? Just curious.
Well, I was 24 when I started everything. But Now I'm 28.
And I'm also curious about the name of the organization.
It is SRAC AF altogether.
Okay. And why did you choose that name?
One of our colleagues, actually, she mentioned it. SRAC is actually a Pashto word, and it indicates the first light in the morning, even before the sunrise.
Okay.
So it's like kind of like education for us is like that.
Okay, that's beautiful. Oh.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's curious to hear more about it. Okay, and then I'm wondering also, when you receive new students, and I know you've explained you conduct surveys to see what exactly they'd like to get out of the programs and the education, but I'm curious, what is the first thing the girls usually say when they join the programs?
I think in 2021, when we started the school, we give them curriculums and we give them the books and we started classes. They were very keen, and they were standing in front of us and they were like, give us more. We want more. We want computers. We want to study how to make softwares and applications. We want to know how to use laptops or computers or phones. I think the idea comes from within the girls themselves, like the initiatives. And it's something that we think about beyond what we are doing. Like, for example, we know that the curriculum might change in that country and they were going to make it according to their extremist ideologies. But what we did was like we already bought books from the previous education system, and we stored it because we know that it will be very difficult in few months or years to buy them or find them, because when they make new books, they will take the other books out of the market so that they cannot be reachable for anyone. So these are the things that we think about from the management perspective. But most of the stuff that we are teaching them, for example, the book sessions that we have on Fridays, like if the girls, like in Afghanistan, Friday is off day, like we have Saturday and Sunday here. But the girls even come to the school on Friday, but we could not say to them that, no, you cannot come. So what we did was on Friday, for example, they want to study different books from their curriculum because they want to know more stories, they want to know biographies. So we created a program for them that every Fridays the girls will come to the school, and for 1 hour we will give them biographical books, for example, from Nelson Mandela, for example, from Malala Yousafzai, for example, from for example, Michelle Obama, the book Becoming, for example, I don't know, Narendra Modi, or the family. So we give them these books so that they can read it with themselves during the week, and then on Friday they come and gather together and they speak. They say the overview, what they think about the books, and so this is how everything has been created. One was the power of the girls on their parents inside the community that is keeping them safe inside the schools. The happiness that they receive from being in the community, in the schools, within each other, to learn from each other, and the new initiatives from being together in that community that they want to learn more, and they are giving us the initiatives that, what do you want? Do you want something like that? They're like, yes, and or no, we want something like that. This is what we mostly got our power of doing more, because if they didn't have the determination, we might not be able to have as much effect as we have right now. So I think everything starts from them and their curiosity, and we do not shut down their desires for education, any type of desires that they have for education or getting educated, whatever they want. We make a way to give it to them because they deserve it.
Yeah, that's nicely said. Okay. And I'm curious then, because you mentioned their determination. I'm curious, have you noticed how this education has changed the way they perceive themselves and their future? I feel like it would bring a lot of hope to them.
Of course. For many of them, for example, when the schools were banned in 2021, then the de facto authorities said like they will open the school next year, which is March 21st or 22nd in our calendar, in this calendar here outside the country. So they opened the schools for 1 hour and then they shut it down again. Like after 1 hour, it was shut down and everybody was shocked and the girls were crying and they came back to school. And on that day, I had to go to each one of the schools that we had inside Kabul, because we have the coverage of the schools not only in Kabul, we have it in whole the country right now. So, but most of them I spoke online by myself because I felt the need to speak with them, and I went personally to all the schools and I saw the girls crying. So I was just standing there and I was like, finish, you're crying and your tears. I'll be here, I have time, and then we will speak. And then one thing I told them was like, you should be happy to not attend schools under these people because they're extremists and they think that we do not deserve life. And we do not deserve to be in the community. We have to live like slaves. So what they're going to teach you now is like maybe this method, this curriculum, but they will change it. And without you noticing, you will feel unworthy. And that's how they want us to feel. Do you want to go to those schools? And now if you ask these girls, like one of the international communities, journalists went to Afghanistan in 2023 and they asked the girls, like, do you want to, if the Taliban opened the schools, would you go? And they said, like, no, I would rather be in this school than go to schools under them. And that made me so much proud that they not only listen, but they feel and they understand. They try to take the responsibility for how they want to shape their future. And I wanted to tell them that how their mothers are illiterate, that's why they became the Taliban. So this is how they perceive everything and they understand the situation. And one of the biggest challenges and struggles that we were facing on those days was the fact that they were so much traumatized, especially after 2022, the schools were banned again, that we had no ways to cure them. And I couldn't even sleep. I couldn't really normally function because of it was very, very difficult for us. So one of my friends, my best friends, and one of my colleagues, she was graduated from master's degree of therapy and psychology from Kabul University, and she told me. So I was speaking with her about the girls that I was so afraid that the girls do not commit suicide because it was very, very disappointing environment for them. So what we came up with, I asked her if it's okay to start a collective mission so that everybody can take the trauma out of themselves. For example, I suggested if we can give them diaries and ask them to write their stories, how they feel and everything, would it help them to take them out? And then we read the diaries and we categorize who needs the most help. Then we will find a way to give them assistance of psychology or psychotherapy if they need. This was a very good move, I think. And we give them diaries and then they wrote everything. And it was very sad that in most cases we could not even read the stories that they wrote. It was very, very sad. So, but the good thing was they were functioning differently when they were saying, and every time I was going to school or I was speaking with them online from across the country, like from the other cities, they were asking me, did I read their stories? And I had to read a little bit pages of like the schools that I was attending so that I can tell them that, yes, you mentioned this, something like that, you mentioned something like that. And for most of the girls, we became as family members, that we were mentioned in their notebooks every day, every time. So I felt this sense that they look at us very highly. So I have to read their stories to give them this sense of that I see you, I understand you, and I am here to help. So that's how I also had to give them this motive that, well, I might not be here all the time. So I had to give them the sense that I will not be here all the time and you have to help yourself. And I'm here to help you to find that thing so that you can help yourself. So this is what we were able to do. And these notebooks I still have, and I translated them into English. And I want to one day, if I can find a good place, I want to publish it as a book to have their stories.
Wow, that would be an amazing book. I would love to read that one day if it ever is published. I'm sure it will be, seeing your past accomplishments. Wow. Oh, that's so interesting though to hear. And do you have psychologists, other psychologists that are helping you navigate?
We have 2 psychologists and they have been very successful in their job that they do. So far, we have helped 4 people from our schools, our students, that they had severe thoughts of suicides. We took them out of that thoughts, and now they're back to life, and we help them. But it's not enough, it's like there are so many secret schools in Afghanistan right now, and everybody needs help. And of course, with the little help that we have, especially women psychiatrists and therapists, we are not able to help everyone. And it's very difficult because many of them are unable to reach to these channels, and they unfortunately kill themselves. I think I just have like 5 more minutes because I think they have to close.
Then if you just have 5 more minutes, is there anything that you would like to share that you feel like you've missed?
I just want you to take the message of us, if I may, representative of the girls in secret schools in Afghanistan, is that nobody in that school or in those communities, women, men, or girls or children, want empathy. They do not want the world to look at them as victims. We are not victims. If we were victims, we would be just sitting at home and dying and waiting for our turn to get married and die under the giving birth process. But we are standing on the ground, especially on the streets of Afghanistan, especially on the street of Kabul, demanding our rights by protesting on those streets that international community left. And we have seen everything. The women who were protesting, they have been to jail. They stood in front of the guns and they fearlessly asked for their demands. So this is not the faces and the stories and destination of victims. You can only call them resilience, and you can call them resilient people. So what we want is for everybody, if they cannot do anything very big to bring some changes in the policies that does not even exist about Afghanistan right now in any country, at least speak about us, because Afghanistan situation is not only women and girls going to school. More than 50% of people in that country does not know where their next meal is coming from, according to World Food Program. According to UNHCR, like more than 40% of people even left the country or even try to leave that country, and everything is worse. And no matter how many policies they are going to make, that catastrophe is going to come to Europe. It's going to come to any other countries. So instead of running from that problem, it's best that they make policies and sit with the people who have plans and find a way out of that situation. And by saying find a way, I'm not begging for freedom. I'm trying to tell them that they have to know their responsibility towards Afghanistan and at least do that. For example, if I may, the world has created International Human Rights Declaration, which has 13 articles, and all these 30 articles have been not followed in Afghanistan. They have all been like they have done everything against that declaration. At least the world have to stand for that, because these are the words that we are telling our girls inside the secret schools. So the girls are looking at them, how they act for that right, and do they stand for that declaration? So at least stand for your own words and declarations that you create, and we see you and we see everything that you do. It's not enough, unfortunately. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, well, I will make sure to take that into account. Thank you so much for giving me your time.
Of course.
I really have learned so much, just as an individual and also as a writer and journalist. And I can tell you that my main goal is to make sure girls are not depicted as victims and are depicted as fighters, because that's truly what you are. And
Thank you.
I'm really impressed with all of the work that everyone has put into this whole community.
Thank you.
Yourself included, of course, but really, really empowering to hear about it. So.
Yes. Just one other thing that I might say is there is one website of us. It's called Slack, and they have written some stuff, and I wrote it in our website as well. You might have seen that it has been compromised and we do not have access to that, and I don't know who did that, and we have the doubts on who did that, but I don't have the time to do anything about it. So if you are going to reference our work, it's best that you can give the website link into the article, it will be very helpful for us because so many people come to me and ask these questions, which I have no answer to. Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for talking to me. And if you have any other thoughts or questions, please feel free to reach out.